And the reason why understanding your chord progressions are so important for you when you want to solo, because you'll say, oh, what if I did this? You'll say, oh, I could just take a B flat triad, slide it up 3 frets, go down chromatically, and have a hip 1-6-2-5 turnaround. So all I did was just look at this, and that gives me some food for thought. Here I go. And back to the top. Of course, I might fancy it up a little bit. Or I might just be doing arpeggios. And I stuck with 6 chords there instead of dominant 7s. Dominant 7s would sound like this. So that 1-6-2-5, yeah, the G7 is a dominant chord. We're treating it as the 5 of the 2 going to the 2, which is C minor. If we're in the key of B flat major, that 6 chord should be minor. And that would be, and again, sounding like this style. Ready for this? The 6 chord being the minor chord. The 6, I'm talking about Roman numeral 6. Okay, that's the 6th degree of B flat. But yeah, that would be diatonic to the key of B flat. But in the jazz realm here, we want to get funky and make these dominant chords. As a matter of fact, we can turn all of these to dominant chords, and they become secondary dominants. So we got B flat 7, G7, C7, and F7. Number 4. Now we're getting fancy. And as I said last time, now we're getting jazzy. Now we're getting a little bit fancier. Six, 2, 5, top. And then again, I want to start to solo using this hip progression. So let's discuss. So we got the 1 chord for 1 bar, quick change. But as we discussed last time, you can throw in that 4 diminished, create some bass line movement, tension. And it's going to sound great. You'll hear that. You could just catch that E flat, E, F. And the F is a part of the B flat. That's why it kind of wants to go to an F note here. If you go bum, 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 to keep that chromatic little line. This Grant Green uses that quite a bit. So we have the 1, we have the 4, quick change, sharp 4 dim to the 1. And then check this out here. We know we're going to go to the 4 chord, E flat, but that B flat 7 is the 5 of it. But so we put the 2 chord in front of it. This is where we're getting into the bebop realm. 2, 5, and then to the 1. But it's really the 4 chord in the big picture. So that was F minor 7, B flat 7, E flat 9. And again, to talk about some chord extensions, I might do F minor 9, just F7 for 2 bars. We have C minor 7 to the F9 or F7, and then B flat 13, 1. And then here, just for fun, I wanted to put the B dim 7 here to demonstrate that diminished sub for G7. See, before we did G7, but here I'm doing this little chromatic bass line. This is, again, a big part of rhythm changes. 2-note shapes, which is, I call it kind of the Grant Green style of comping. That's what I'm thinking in this context. So please just be aware that there's many possibilities. As long as you know the basic movements, that's what's important. I love 3-note shapes too for swing. Okay. We have the diminished 7 on the 6th string and a diminished 7 on the 5th string root. The one on the B dim 7. It's really interesting when you think of it this way. You just play a B flat 7, 4-note voicing, and then take your root and go up a half step. Just like I showed you on the E flat 7, go up a half step on the root. But in this case, B flat 7, make sure you have all 4 notes, okay? All 4 notes of that B flat 7 chord. That means you could do it as an inversion up here, and then here, or here, here. It's a good exercise to take a dominant 7th chord, Arp 1 dim, that's a substitute for G7, okay? And then to the 2 minor 7, and then have some fun on the 5 chord. I'm gonna give it the sharp 9. I added a sharp 5 as well, some dissonance. So again, that's 1-6-2-5. That's all about rhythm changes. The power of 1-6-2-5. So many variations on that. But I really love that one, especially for fast swing, because I'll do this quite often. Even sometimes, often a 6 chord. That the dim, you know, let the bass player play the G. You could play the 3rd off of B, and it harmonizes beautifully. Okay, it's a 3rd. You can go 1 sharp 1, which is B diminished, and then C F. Okay, the beauty of subs. Let's go on, you guys. We're on number 5. This one now uses some tritone subs here. So number 5 is very important. This is one of my favorites to do personally. But we got a lot more movements, a lot more dominance. All the action is happening over here on these measures. You can see 7. So I suggest singing these movements, right? E flat 7, E flat, E, B flat, A flat, G. The walk down, I call it C7, not C minor, C7. Bluesier, I love it. You know, the 2's dominant. It's because it's a 5 of the 5. And then check this turnaround out here. B flat, D flat, C, B flat. And that's a 1-6-2-5 with TT sub in here. I'm just gonna play along, but be a bass player. Let's start with the bass. 4, sharp 4. Ready for this? That's the walk down to the 6, a chromatic walk down. Okay, so that's all. I hope you've learned it. If not, check out my lessons on YouTube or Patreon, of course, on tritone sub. The basic rule is you can substitute a dominant chord with another dominant chord, a tritone away. That means you're cold. So again, D flat is a tritone sub for G, and that's our 6. And then B7 is a tritone sub for F. Okay, so it's 1-6-2-5. And if you did a 2-note shape version of it, you'll notice they share the same 3rd and the flat 7, which is why it works so well. Creates a cool dissonance. Can I keep an F note? And the answer is absolutely. You get this. Then I'd go one step further, put a C minor with the F on top. So it's the 11. I kind of want to do a tritone sub here, B7 flat 5. And then more of a common tone, why not? And I often refer to that as melodic comping. 2, 3, 4. go. And the reason why understanding your chord progressions are so important for you when you want to solo, because you'll say, oh, what if I did this? You'll say, oh, I could just take a B flat triad, slide it up 3 frets, go down chromatically, and have the hip 1-6-2-5 turnaround. So all I did was just look at this, and that gives me some food for thought. Here I go. And back to the top. Of course, I might fancy it up a little bit. And just, again, embellishing. Well, I didn't really talk about this yet, but I'm embellishing around the chord shape. Around my movement. You do it with chords, leads. And again, that gets me going, some ideas that is not necessarily just blues licks, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I love that as well too. But the topic that we're really starting to focus on today is jazz style. And you can see just by outlining the chords, outlining meaning arpeggiating, essentially. We can start with just exercises, and that's where you're gonna go to my easy arpeggio exercises. Doing this. But I didn't write these yet for these, but I will. So I just got you started on the basic one. It's, arpeggios. Yeah, arpeggios start off with just going up and down, like this. I like to mix up the direction, but you'll see on my worksheets, it's not that fancy. It's just up and down, or just up if you're switching. But of course, I would recommend to vary up the direction of your line to make it interesting, okay? Oh my gosh, this is a fun one. This one I learned by learning the tune, but Blues for Alice is a tune Parker uses it on. It's very, very pretty. I'm gonna play it. Again. 4, minor 4, 3, all these 2/5s. This one almost goes beyond the scope of today's session on the 12-bar blues, getting this fancy into the bebop styling. But basically, there's a lot of 2/5s, a lot of 2/5s. And this again is using that term back cycling. We want to have a destination. In this case, we start with a major 7 or major 6. Very, very sweet. And then we bust into 2/5 licks and ideas. And when we have all these 2/5s, that's definitely a big element stylistically of the bebop sound. Okay, if you want to get jazzy, start to throw this in, your bandmates will go, whoa. Like you're throwing in some bebop licks by throwing in these 2/5s over the basic blues. And you're probably wondering, Tracy, can I throw this in on Johnny Be Good? Try it out is what I want to say. You'll definitely get some looks. However, that's kind of what Charlie Parker was experimenting with back then, was getting looks on the bandstand and trying out these subs. But then he just wrote compositions that started to follow these beautiful movements here and keep circling around these 2/5s. So here's a quick analysis. This is your 1 minute on this style here. We're in the key of B flat. I put a major 7 here. You could do major 6. You could even do 13. Dominant. Not a huge deal. But it's all this stuff. This is a 2/5, a 2/5, and a 2/5. These little modules So one thing I always tell my students getting into jazz is work on your 2-5 licks. I did not send that out to you. I will as a follow-up. Many of you already have seen my essential 2-5 licks and lines. You can insert those licks right in here and try to navigate through the progression and have some fun. And again, that's definitely in the bebop style. So here's the deal. We start on the 1 chord. Forget all this stuff. Just know you want to get to the 4 chord, okay? We're going to back cycle. If you know you want to get to the E flat, well, what's the 5 of E flat? It's B flat. So in front of B flat, you put the 2 chord. That's why you have a 2-5. We already talked about that. But in front of the F minor, you put the 5 of that. And then you put the 2 chord in front of that. So you get G minor 7 to F7, which pulls us to F minor. But in front of the G minor, you could put the 5 of that. This is all the beauty of secondary dominance and what's called back cycling. Then that's a 5 of G minor. And then in front of the 5, you got to put the 2 chord. 2-5, 2-5, 2-5 to the destination to 4. That's why it sounds so good. So you have the B flat major 7. That's A minor 7 flat 5. It could be just an A minor 7, G minor 7, C7, F minor 7, B flat 7, E flat 9. Okay, and those are just a series of 2-5, 2-5, 2-5s. So please work out your 2-5 chords and your 2-5 licks if you want to get into this style, advanced style of playing jazz. Now we're going to minor that chord and it creates a 2-5. Again, we want to get, this is tricky, we want to get to C minor and we're going D minor to G7 and then we're doing a chromatic movement here, D flat minor to G flat 7 and then to C minor. This could be thought of as a G minor 7 to C7, but it's often played as these chromatic style descending 2-5s. Until we get to C minor, the real 2, and then the 5, and then 1, 6, 2, 5. Here it is slow. 1. Ready? We're gonna minor it. Chromatic. 2-5. Flat 3, 2, flat 2. You know, mix and matching the turnarounds. That's what I'm saying.